everyone, I'm Priya, CFRE's Media Director, and today we'll be speaking to Sunlust. Welcome, Sunlust.
Howdy.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
So I want to start this off by a general introduction. Who are you as a band and the music you create?
I guess I'll take this one. So yeah, we're Sunlust. Who are we as a band? That's an intense question. I don't know. We're music lovers. We like to have fun, not take ourselves too seriously, but yeah, we love playing music. And the music that we create is I suck at genres, but I would say it's like in the rock genre for sure. Some people have called it grunge, some people have called it punk. It can be alternative. Some guy once told us that it sounded like classic 70s punk, and I was like, cool, I can get behind all of that.
You got a little bit of everything in the mix, which is great.
Sure. Yeah, I love to hear it.
What unique features do each of you bring to the band?
Another good question. I don't know. You guys want to start with that one?
I would definitely say I feel like everyone kind of has an open mind towards the type of sound that we're going to go for. I like the fact that you're able to kind of put your own input into things and nothing has to be extremely solid, right? It's a very fluid way that we make music. And yeah, if anyone else has anything to add.
So for everyone.
I feel like we all bring a different element to to the stage. Everybody has a different style of how they like to rock out, and I think that's very important because how you look on stage is just as important as how you sound.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think like all of us have different things that we bring to both the music and the performance, and I think we all kind of like stand out as our own characters within the band, which I think is really cool because sometimes with some bands it's like the real flavor of it lies in like the front person, but I think all three of us really bring like a lot of energy and different things like that to both the live performance and the musicality of it all. So yeah, that's cool. Like I think we all have a lot of strengths that we bring into the band.
That's really interesting and good that you all bring like a different skill set to the group. Which brings me into my next point. How do you measure your success? I know you guys showcase a lot of your personality, and obviously there's the obvious metric of like streams and stuff like that, but is there any other way you measure your success?
I think being like a small band, you definitely have to like measure your success other than streams and things like that. And for myself, at least, like uh, a lot of things that we've accomplished in Sunlust have been like big goals for me. So since I started playing guitar at like 14, 15, I just wanted to be in a band. So then like moving to Toronto and starting the band was like, wow, what a dream come true. And then playing our first show, it was like, wow, what a dream come true. And then like as the shows got like a little bigger or like we'd get fans that like weren't people that were our friends or family, just even little tiny things. I've personally taken as like victories. And so I just measure success in the opportunities that we get. So basically, every cool new thing we get to do, I'm like, oh, yeah, we're really making it. But my real dream, I think when bands really make it, is when they get a Wikipedia page. So when that happens, that's how I know that it's the real deal.
I think another way personally for me that I could measure success within the band is just like a personal satisfaction and happiness with creating music together. Because I know that anytime I get together and we play music, I am ecstatic for a few days after. So I feel like it's more than just the outside perspective. I feel like a big part of it, at least for me, is on the inside. I feel very happy and fortunate to be in this group, and that's kind of what I feel success is.
Yeah, just to add to all that, I just feel really successful if we play a really tight show. Whether people notice it or not, as long as we knew it, that it was a tight show, I'm happy at the end of the day.
I like these answers. I feel like fans and listeners can get that energy off when they listen to you and when they come to see you.
That's the goal.
So tell me about the creative process behind writing your songs.
So we're kind of in like a new era. So Paolo just joined us a few months ago. Um, so previously, the songs on the first album I wrote before I moved to the city, and I was living in a really small town, and I just kind of wrote these songs because I wanted to see if I could write songs, and I kind of did little demos with all the instruments, and then when I got together with Stefano and our previous drummer, we kind of fleshed it out a little bit. So the songwriting process before was basically just me coming up with most of the parts, and then Stefano and our previous drummer Dan would kind of improve on those parts. Um, and obviously they did have a lot of input too in kind of editing the songs, and they did go a long way from where I had them as demos to where they became. But yeah, going forward, like I think it's going to be really cool to kind of like write together in the room. And I still very much am like a kind of hide away in a dark room by myself to like write the melody and the lyrics. But I'm excited to like bring these things into the room and be like, what do you guys think the drum beat should sound like? Or like, what do you guys picture this happening? So I'm looking forward to like kind of a more collaborative process with the songwriting going forward.
I was really fascinated by the lyrics in your song Existor. Could you tell me the story behind that?
Hmm. So a lot of my songs are just kind of like lyrically, I would say that they all definitely like mean something and come from somewhere. Um, but sometimes too, it's just like I'll take excerpts from like my journals and like kind of stream of consciousness. And my goal is to kind of write something that tells a story and paints cool imagery, but it's not putting the story like slapping you in the face with it. But yeah, I guess Existor is just kind of about feeling inadequate next to other people and kind of just having to live in your skin a little bit. Um, yeah, and just kind of feeling that trying to be comfortable with who you are, but kind of using that discomfort to create something, I guess.
It's a really good backstory.
Cool.
I think something that really drew me into your music was your unique cover art. Where do you find these things and how do you decide to make these creative choices?
So the cover art, all the art I did myself. So I also love making art, whether it's like digital or doing stupid crafts. Like I'm just kind of always doing something. So the artwork did not come lightly for me because I've been like dreaming of releasing music and being in a band for so long. But I would kind of bounce ideas off of Stefano and see what the guys were thinking. And basically, I just like brainstormed just a bunch of ideas. And a lot of the imagery in the artwork is just stuff that, from an aesthetic perspective, I've always liked. Like, I like anatomy and I really like space and flowers and like kind of like vintagey stuff. So it's just kind of like a combo of different things that I find aesthetically pleasing and being like, oh, this would be cool in an album artwork kind of setting.
Have you ever drawn something first and then that has sparked like songwriting or potential for an album cover? Or is it usually you write the songs first and then the album is produced, the artwork?
Sometimes I've definitely like drawn things just for fun and been like, this would be a really cool like album cover, and it kind of goes from there. I wouldn't say I necessarily like draw something with the subject matter in mind having to relate to lyrics. I don't really love when things are super literal like that. That's just my kind of personal aesthetic when it comes to art. I don't want it to be too literal. But I've definitely like drawn stuff and been like, oh, that's cool. I'm going to turn that into like a piece of album art. Um, but yeah, it's not usually the other way around where I'm like, all right, I got to draw something to like match these lyrics necessarily.
So going back to you guys as a group, I wanted to ask you, what are some challenges you face as a band?
You guys want to take this one away? What are the problems, guys? What are the challenges here?
Good question.
Well, at first it was finding a new drummer because you want to find the right person. You want to find, for our music we need somebody who's really heavy hitting, and Paulo is definitely the guy for that. And we also wanted to find someone who we vibed with. So, there's you only get along with so many people. Like, yeah. So I feel like that was a big challenge, like at the very beginning in this iteration of the band. But yeah, I don't know.
I could say personally, being the new kid in town, uh, joining a group and first of all, learning the material takes a decent amount of time, just dedication, listening to the songs over and over and over again. I've developed a method to learn songs, I guess my own personal way, and so I just ran it through my method so many times. And another thing is being able to put my own creative input into the songs with stepping on other people's toes or changing the song. I've been very fortunate enough where a lot of the parts that I've kind of, made myself have been accepted, and I was just given the space to show my creative freedom or my creativity. But yeah, I would say learning all the material, putting my own personality into it without going too far away from the actual song.
Just to build off that question, what made you decide to join these guys?
Well, we had a mutual friend that had introduced me to Sunlust, and I went for an audition from there. Listened to the music beforehand, and this is definitely something I can get behind. I feel the energy, and right from the first, I guess, practice or audition, got like tingles down my neck and goosebumps, and it felt right. It felt like home, and I guess together since. It hasn't been ridiculous amount of time, but I definitely feel family here.
That's good. He passed the screening process.
Yes,
Yes,
with flying colors.
thankfully.
Was there specific requirements you had for this screening process other than like the vibe and like getting along with everyone else?
I think one of the major things is we wanted to find somebody who's on the same page as for like going on tour and jamming regularly, because people have jobs and, we all have responsibilities, but you want to find somebody who's willing to commit their free time to the band, right? And somebody who's going to put the band before other commitments. I feel like that was something really, really important that we had to look for.
Yeah, that was a big one. Just because like we did have plans going forward of like doing like a little tour, which we do have set up, which is very exciting. But yeah, just making sure that whoever was coming into the Sunlist family was like a good fit musically. So yeah, like Stefano mentioned earlier, we're looking for like a hard hitter that could like play some hard stuff, but was technically very apt. And Paulo definitely fits the bill on that one. Yeah, and just someone that like we could get along with and laugh with and like feel comfortable with. Because Stefano and I are really good friends and we're very goofy and silly. And so we just wanted to be in a room with someone else that jumped on that train and like we felt comfortable with. So that was pretty much all the requirements for us, and Paulo passed with flying colors. So
Great news. Going back to mention of tour, what are you most excited about when you do go on tour?
I'm excited to like play a few nights in a row personally, which like maybe sounds exhausting to some people, but I think it will allow us to kind of like get into a groove. And I've always heard of like big bands that go on tour. And like, granted, this is just like a little double weekend thing. It's no like crazy stint or what have you. But I know that bands always say that it takes them a couple nights and then they get into this sweet spot and they're just like in the pocket every single night. And so we're kind of playing these like sporadic shows right now. And I get so nervous and so amped up beforehand. Um, I'm just looking forward to kind of just like getting into this groove of playing these shows. And we're playing cities we've never played before. Like we're going to play Montreal, which I think is really exciting. So I'm pretty pumped for that.
I definitely agree with that. Just being on the road as a group, as a family, I dreamt of that when I was a little kid. And even though, yeah, it's not a world tour just yet, it gives you a taste it. You get to go out there and do something that you're passionate about with people that, you love and care about. And it's really a magical thing coming together and you're all just doing your passion. Amazing.
So what does your dream tour look like?
Good question.
Yeah.
Playing different countries, stadiums, the whole shebang.
I think right now, like my dream tour is like to get one of our favorite bands to like discover us and be like, these guys are sick. Like, you got to come on tour with us. Like, I'm convinced that's like how you get big as a band is like you just got to like ride the coattails of some other band. But yeah, it would be my dream for like Pop or Fiddler or like one of these like monster to us anyway, like one of these big bands that just like rock so hard to take us out on tour and be like, Sunlust is cool. They're going to open for us. That would be amazing.
Yeah, I'm just really excited to eventually play a festival because it'll be a time when there's a lot of people and a lot of who have never heard our music before, and we're just gonna have they're gonna be forced to listen to us essentially. So and they will love us. I'm quite sure. So it's for their own benefit.
I'm sure they'll love you guys too. So what are some future goals you have and want to achieve as a band?
Definitely, yeah, like definitely the touring thing. But other than that, I think I would definitely like to write a record, another record. We do have an EP coming out, which is very exciting. But yeah, I'd love to start a fresh batch of tunes and come out with another record. Yeah, and just play like bigger shows. I want to pack the house like every night and just have like mosh pits all the time, wall to wall.
Oh yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. I'm so looking forward to sitting down and writing new music together and just seeing what happens. That is one huge goal, just to get another record down fresh with the new group here. And yeah, again, play shows, play festivals, and just really immerse our lives into music and the band and see what comes.
So building off, making more music and releasing more, what can fans expect to see from you in the new year? Can we see more tour dates?
Yeah, I would hope so. So our this little EP that we have coming out, it's 5 songs, and we're still finishing up some recording. But we're hoping that that can be out before the end of this year. But it's hard to say because you always want these things to, you kind of have a timeline in mind and you kind of want them to be cooked before they sometimes are. So that might be an early New Year thing. But yeah, I would just hope like new music, and I would love to like we're doing this little like Ontario tour, but I would love to do like a Canadian tour as well. No idea what the logistics of that are, unless, one of those bands that I mentioned beforehand, maybe they want to scoop us up and take us. But that would be pretty cool. But yeah, I think like new music, touring, kind of inching our way up the ladder. That would be really cool.
Is there a specific place in Canada you're looking like the most forward to?
Not in particular. Like, I just think it would be sweet to like play in other cities because like we've been around Toronto so long and like we've played a couple other spots in the GTA, but we've never really ventured out. And I know that like Stefano's played the West Coast with his other band, so I think it'd be cool just to get out to other cities and like see how the crowds are because when you play in one city all the time, it's kind of hard to get a taste for like what maybe the crowd could be like in another location that maybe like goes a little harder or what have you.
Could you
Not
talk
to knock Toronto, but
could you talk more about your experience with like just being in the GTA? A lot of the artists that I've interviewed, they've never been to Toronto. So as an artist coming into the city, what advice would you have for them?
um try and play before midnight because I think COVID really changed the game a bit. I don't think like young people are really staying out super late anymore. And to add on to that, it costs like $10 to have a beer. So I think people just aren't staying out late anymore. And generally, we find that like playing after a certain time in Toronto, you're going to be playing to no one because everyone goes home. So that's advice that I would have playing Toronto.
Yeah, to add to that, I would say play somewhere along the subway system because, people like easy access to venues. They like to, leave venues and then get home quickly. So if you could play somewhere, close to a subway stop, I think that's pretty beneficial because it'll give people less excuses to not want to come out, for
It's
sure.
true.
And then just before I wrap up, I wanted to ask, what advice would you have for upcoming artists looking to make it?
Good question. I would also like up and coming artists to tell me how to make it because that's the goal. But yeah, no, in all seriousness, I think just like it sounds so cheesy, but like don't give up. I guess it's like cliche for a reason, but um if you feel it in your bones and like it's something that you really believe in, like just keep doing it and just do what you got to do to make it happen, which I guess isn't concrete advice. Like it's just kind of like vague cliche stuff, but it exists for a reason. Like keep playing. If you go through changes in your band members, like don't give up. Just like keep pushing for what you want. And, eventually like you'll get some really cool opportunities and just keep going for it. Like if you believe in yourself, all your dreams will come true.
I would also say like know your worth. So like as you're playing more shows and you know what your band is capable of, you should be more selective as to the shows you play. Because, I personally I found like playing every single show gets exhausting and I want to get more, the longer I do this, I want to get more out of every show that I play. So it's important to be a little selective.
I guess the only advice I can give would be try to make as many connections as you can. Reach out to people, talk to people, go and watch other bands play after they're done. Really have nothing to lose by going and speaking with someone. So, I mean, I guess the more you do that, the more chances you have of catching a break and, making some good connections.
Yes.
And of course, you got to practice all the time for hours every week. Because that's the only way you're going to be a good band. You gotta constantly play together.
It's a lot of work. It is a lot of work, but if you put it in, it's worth it, and the fun outweighs the work. The work
Absolutely.
is fun.
The work is fun, exactly.
Yeah.
Some solid advice. I just want to go back to what you said about like being selective about shows. What are some things you guys look for then when you decide to play a show?
Well, like personally, I look for, I want to play shows where we're on at a good time because we've had it where, we played a gig last year, June 2023, and we ended up playing at 2 a.m. and the only people that were there were the other bands. So it was kind of pointless. And so, stuff like that. You want to know how many bands are on a bill. And, because if I find sometimes if there's too many bands on a bill, it just gets too chaotic. There's too much gear being loaded in. What else? The venue is important. Like I said, you want to be kind of selective where you play. You kind of want to play near public transit, subway stops, things like that. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything.
Yeah, I would agree. Like I think when you first start, you got to cut your teeth on this kind of stuff and kind of realize like what you like and what you don't like about gigs. And I do think there is a period where you kind of just have to like experience all that before you realize like, oh yeah, I don't know if it's really worth us like hauling our drum set out for a midnight set on a Wednesday to play to 3 people. Like you just start, and it's not that you're not grateful for the opportunity to play, but yeah, sometimes like not exhausting yourself over things like that. You save your energy for a bigger show. So we are kind of at a point where we're looking for like Friday, Saturday night gigs on bills with bands that we admire. Or, even bands that we don't know, but we check out their music and we're like, oh, that's really cool. Like we want to play with bands that we really kind of feel what they're doing. Just playing at a good set time and that kind of stuff. And I think those are some good points that you made, Steph. I feel the same.
Thank you, Steph. I'm glad we're on the same page.
Well, that concludes the interview. Thank you for joining us. I'm Priya on CFRE Radio, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, Priya.